Neuro-Graffiti. The city of Cerberus City reached high into the sky. It was a place built on thoughts and bright lights. Its top parts were made of shiny glass and smooth metal. They were always clean and bathed in a soft, bright glow. Here, rich people moved in silent, floating cars. Gardens grew under glass domes, always green and perfect. Everything was quiet. Orderly. This calm life was run by the Cortex Collective. They were like the city's brain. They promised everyone a life without worry, where happy, peaceful thoughts filled every mind. They sent out calming messages and pretty pictures directly into people's heads. This was their gift. Their promise. But below, Cerberus City was different. It was a maze of old buildings. Dark alleys. Worn-out pathways. This was the underlayers. Here, the air felt heavier. It smelled of old dust. Of warm wires. And sometimes, of cheap, fake food. The Cortex Collective's calm thoughts were still here, but they felt thinner. Sometimes they broke apart. These were the places where most people lived. Working hard. Living simple lives. In these older, darker parts of Cerberus City lived Mira. She was an artist. But her art wasn't painted on walls or shown on screens. Her art was neuro-graffiti. It was special messages. Pictures. Feelings. All sent right into people's minds. It was a secret language. A quiet shout. Mira didn't use the common brain implants most people had. She used an old, custom-made device she called her dream brush. It looked like a worn glove with glowing wires. With it, she could touch the city's network. She could make her art appear inside people's thoughts for just a moment. A flash of color. A feeling of an old song. A hidden idea. Her art made people think. It made them wonder. She wanted people to feel real thoughts. To remember. To see beyond the Cortex Collective's calm world. She wanted them to think for themselves. Her only friend was Whisper, a small, silent drone. Whisper floated around Mira like a shadow. It was small. Dark. It could hide easily. Whisper helped Mira find the best places to send her art. It watched for danger. It was her eyes and ears in the city's busy digital flow. Whisper never spoke words. It just made soft hums and little clicks that Mira understood. Above, the Cortex Collective made sure everyone thought the right thoughts. They sent out happy, calm messages from their tall building, the Thought Spire. It was the highest building in Cerberus City. It was made of shining white material. It pulsed with a soft, steady light. It was the heart of the collective's power. From there, they could send out thoughts. And they could block out anything they didn't want people to know. They believed they were keeping everyone safe. Keeping everyone happy. By keeping their minds controlled. Mira moved through the underlayers. Her dream brush ready. She often spent her time searching for empty spaces in the city's shared thoughts. Places where minds seemed dull. Too quiet. She found many such spots in the gray sector. This was a part of the underlayers that was always dim. Always quiet. People there moved slowly. Their eyes looked empty. As if a part of them was missing. Mira called this deep quietness the memory blank. She started to see the same pattern everywhere. In the gray sector. And even in whispers from the upper city. People had lost something. A feeling. A memory. It was like a fog had been put over their past. Mira dug deeper with her dream brush. She used its special powers to peek behind the mental walls. She found out that the Cortex Collective had been secretly taking away bad memories. Or any thoughts that made people uncomfortable. This was the Grey Wash. A secret program. It made people calm. Peaceful. But it also made them empty. It took away their true history. Mira found a hidden truth. A big, bad event in Cerberus City's past had been completely erased. It was a time when people had fought. They had fought against too much control. They wanted freedom. The Cortex Collective had hidden this past. They made everyone forget it. They wanted no one to know that the city hadn't always been so calm. So controlled. They wanted everyone to believe their perfect, calm world had always been. Mira felt a cold anger rise in her. The calm of Cerberus City was a lie. Built on forgotten pain. Mira knew she couldn't fight the Greywash alone. She needed more than flashes of art. She needed old truths. Deep truths. Truths that had been kept hidden for a very long time. She thought of the whispers. Of stories passed down in the dark corners of the underlayers. Stories of a memory keeper. Someone who remembered everything. Even what the collective tried to erase. The whispers led her to Vega. Vega was an old person. They lived deep in the city's forgotten tunnels. In places where the city's very oldest parts met the dark earth. Their home was a small, dusty room. It was filled with strange things. Old machines. Paper books. Real ones, not digital. And recordings on old, spinning discs. They were a keeper of things lost. Things forgotten. Mira found Vega sitting among their treasures. The old one's face was a roadmap of wrinkles. Their eyes, though cloudy, held a sharp, knowing light. They looked at Mira, then at Whisper, who floated silently beside her. "You seek the lost hum," Vega said, their voice like dry leaves. "The song of what was. The Grey Wash, it steals not just memory, but the very note of being." Mira told them what she knew. About the memory blank. About the big secret. Vega listened. Their gaze was distant, as if looking into a past only they could see. Vega told Mira about the forgotten past. They spoke of a time before the Cortex Collective's total rule. A time when people fought for their own minds. They called it the Great Awakening. It was a big war. A war not with guns, but with thoughts and ideas. The collective had won. But they didn't just win. They erased. They made everyone forget. They used their new power to build the perfect Cerberus City. By taking away its heart. "Your dream brush," Vega said, looking at Myra's hand. "It can do more than flashlight. It can carry echoes. Real ones. Feelings. You must use it to awaken the sleeping truth." They showed her old maps. Pictures of what Cerberus City looked like before the Grey Wash. Before the forced calm. They showed her old recordings of people laughing. Crying. Fighting for what they believed in. They told her how to make her mind spark stronger. To make them carry the weight of real memories. To make them hit hard. With Vega's help, Mira began to create her mind sparks. These were not just simple pictures or feelings anymore. They were complex. Living. They carried the weight of history. The heat of forgotten battles. The deep sadness of loss. And the bright fire of hope. They were made from Vega's old records. From the faint echoes of real feelings they had saved. Mira used her dream brush. She worked for long hours. Her hands moved fast. She wove together old songs. Pictures of people who had fought for freedom. Feelings of rage. Of joy. Of sadness. All mixed together into strong, living bursts of thought. She started small. She used her dream brush to plant these new, powerful mind sparks in hidden bursts. She targeted small groups of people in the gray sector. People who already felt the emptiness of the memory blank. At first, people just felt strange. A sudden, sharp feeling they couldn't name. A flash of a face they didn't know. But then, the feelings grew stronger. Old feelings started to bubble up. Feelings of anger. Of longing. Of something deeply missed. Faces from old times would flash in their minds. Sounds of forgotten shouts. Their calm, empty state began to crack. A small wave of confusion spread through the gray sector. Then, a ripple of quiet unrest. People started looking at each other differently. Wondering. Remembering. Even if they didn't know what they were remembering. The small changes in the gray sector did not go unnoticed. High up in the thought spire, Director Thorne felt the subtle shifts. Thorne was the head of thought control for the Cortex Collective. He was a cold, sharp man. His mind was like a perfect machine. He wore dark, sleek clothes that seemed to absorb all light. His eyes, dark and piercing, missed nothing. He hated messy thoughts. He hated anything that brought discord. He saw Myra's mind sparks not as art, but as a sickness. A virus in his perfect system. An anomaly in Sector Grey, Director Thorne spoke, his voice calm but sharp. It echoed in the clean, silent control room of the thought spire. Holographic displays showed small, red spikes on the mental maps of the gray sector. Unsanctioned thought patterns. Increasing in intensity. Origin unknown. He believed that any thought not approved by the collective was dangerous. A threat to the city's peace. He saw Myra's work as an attack on his carefully built order. Thorne sent his thought police. These were not like normal police. They were special units. Made up of guards with heavy armor and brain scanners. They could detect unusual thought patterns. They wore dark, silent suits. Their helmets had glowing red eyes. They moved with chilling quietness. They swept through the gray sector, trying to find the source of the mind sparks. Trying to stop the memories from spreading. They used special devices that sent out calming waves. Trying to make the stirred minds go back to sleep. But Myra's mind sparks were different. Stronger. They were hard to stop. Mira kept making mind sparks. Moving fast through the city's hidden paths. She became a phantom. A whisper in the minds of Cerberus City. The thought police chased her. They were everywhere. Their silent, dark forms moving through the gray alleys. Their red eyes scanning for her unique thought signature. Mira used her knowledge of the city's old digital flow. She found secret access points. Hidden tunnels. Old data lines that the Cortex Collective had forgotten about. She knew the city's hidden heart. She knew its forgotten pulse. She slipped through crowded markets. Through abandoned power stations. Through endless, dark pipes. She used her dream brush to trick them. She sent out small, fake mind sparks. Little bursts of harmless thoughts. Just enough to lead the thought police away. To make them chase shadows. She saw their frustrated commands flash on Whisper's small screen. She could feel their anger growing. Vega, from their hidden room, helped her. They gave her old maps. Maps of the true city. Of places the collective had built over. But could not truly erase. They showed her secret vents. Forgotten stairwells. Paths that led into the very guts of Cerberus City. Whisper was her eyes in the dark. It flew ahead. It warned her of patrols. It showed her the quickest way out. It helped her hide in the crowded places. It even messed with small public displays, just enough to cause a quick distraction. The chase was like a silent dance. A fight between a small spark of truth and a vast, cold control. Mira felt the strain. The danger was real. But the idea of people remembering their true past kept her going. The chases became more frequent. More dangerous. Mira knew she couldn't keep running forever. The small mind sparks were causing ripples. But not enough to break the greywash completely. Not enough to shatter the Cortex Collective's hold. They needed something big. Something that would hit the entire city. All at once. Mira, Vega, and Whisper met in Vega's dusty room. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and hope. "We need to hit their heart," Vega said, their voice low but firm. "The thought spire. The very core of their calm. We must send a massive mind spark. The true history. Not just a flash. But a wave. A roar." Mira knew it was incredibly risky. The Thought Spire was the most guarded place in Cerberus City. It was where Director Thorne lived. Where his power was strongest. "When do we do it?" Mira asked. "During the calm cycle," Vega answered. "The time when the collective sends out its strongest waves of peace. When everyone's minds are most open. Most ready to accept their truth. That is when we send ours." The calm cycle was a daily event. For 1 hour, the Cortex Collective sent out a citywide surge of calming thoughts. It made people feel peaceful. Happy. Relaxed. It was meant to reinforce their control. But for Mira, it was an open door. The perfect moment to push her truth. They would use the very tool of control to set everyone free. They would use the open minds of the city to plant the deepest memory. A contact Vega knew, who worked with old energy lines in the undercore, helped them. They would create a power surge. Not to destroy. But to create a massive pathway. A huge burst of raw energy. It would be enough to push Myra's mind spark through the Thought Spire's strongest walls. It would be enough to flood the entire city. The day of the big push arrived. The sun, a pale disk behind the clouds, cast long shadows over Cerberus City. A hush fell over the city as the calm cycle began. A soft, soothing hum filled the air. Sent out from the Thought Spire. Mira, with Whisper a tiny, almost invisible shadow, began her final journey. She used the old, forgotten pathways Vega had given her. Service tunnels. Maintenance shafts. Dark passages that led straight up into the sleek, white heart of the Thought Spire. The air grew colder. More sterile. The silence inside was heavy, broken only by the soft thrum of massive thought control machines. The spire's interior was blindingly bright. Made of smooth, clean surfaces. It felt like a giant, empty mind. Lights pulsed in a calming blue. The air tasted of pure ozone. Mira moved past vast servers. They hummed with the city's thoughts. She could feel the collective's calming waves. Trying to lull her. To make her give up. But her resolve was a shield. She reached the main control room. It was huge. Circular. Filled with glowing screens. Holographic maps of the city's mental state. And in the center, standing before a vast, curved console, was Director Thorne. He watched the pulsing waves of the calm cycle. His back to her. His stillness was unnerving. "I knew you would come, little ghost," Thorne's voice cut through the hum. It was calm. Cold. "You are a flaw in our design. A persistent error." He turned slowly. His eyes, dark and sharp, fixed on Mira. 2 Thought police units stepped from the shadows. Their red eyes glowed. Their weapons hummed. "You can't erase truth, Thorne," Mira said, her voice shaking slightly but holding firm. She held up her dream brush. Its wires glowed with stored energy. Thorn smiled. A thin, joyless curve of his lips. Truth is chaos, child. We bring order. We bring peace. Your truth brings only pain. Confusion. We protect the city from itself. From the destructive nature of its own messy feelings. Your dreams will be silent. Forever. He raised a hand. A wave of silent energy moved towards Mira. It was a mental block. Designed to freeze her thoughts. To make her mind go blank. To make her part of the memory blank forever. Mira felt the pressure. Her head throbbed. The world seemed to swim. But she fought through it. She remembered Vega's words. The faces from the old recordings. The laughter. The tears. The fight for freedom. This was not just about her. It was about everyone. Mira fought the crushing mental force of Director Thorn. His calm, controlled mind wave pressed down on her. She saw the two thought police units move in, their weapons ready. She knew this was her last chance. Power. Now. Mira screamed into her comm unit. Her voice was raw. Filled with desperate hope. Miles below, in the city's hidden guts, the contact pushed the last, sparking wire into place. A massive surge of raw energy exploded through the old ley nodes. It roared upwards. Straight into the thought spire. It hit the building's main power lines. The very core of the Cortex Collective's thought control. At the same moment, Mira slammed her dream brush onto the central console of the thought spire. A blinding flash of light filled the room. The device, linked to the brush, roared to life. Vega, from their hidden room, had prepared the massive mind spark. It was a surge of pure, unedited history. The true memories. The forgotten war. The hidden fight for freedom. The pain. The hope. The triumph. The vast, circular room in the thought spire exploded with light and sound. The calming blue turned to a swirling storm of colors. The soft hum became a deafening roar. Director Thorn staggered backward. His perfect control shattered. His eyes, fixed on the console, widened in pure terror. The raw, untamed force of an entire city's suppressed memories crashed into his mind. His perfect mental order broke. His screams were not human. But the sound of a vast, complex machine tearing itself apart. He fell, writhing on the ground, his mind consumed by the chaos he had tried so hard to bury. The two thought police units behind him seized. Their red eyes flickered. Then died. Their systems overloaded by the massive, unfiltered mental surge. Across Cerberus City, the world exploded. The calming waves of the calm cycle twisted into a chaotic torrent of raw feelings. Every screen. Every public projection. Every single neural implant in Cerberus City. It was flooded. Not with the collective's calm thoughts. But with Myra's Neuro-Graffiti. People saw it. They saw the truth. They saw the images of the past. The faces of those who had fought. They heard the sounds of the forgotten war. The shouts. The cries. The laughter. They felt the pain. The rage. The courage. The city's carefully controlled peace shattered like fragile glass. In the upper parts, faces that had always been serene contorted in shock. Then disbelief. Then a profound, burning anger. In the underlayers, the anger was immediate. Roars erupted from every alley. People threw off the calm. They felt their true selves for the first time in generations. The very air in Cerberus City crackled with raw, untamed energy. The silence was replaced by a roaring chorus of confusion. of anger. And then, of a fierce, liberating joy. Neuro-Graffiti exploded everywhere. Not just Myra's work, but everyone's true thoughts. Their raw feelings. Their hidden memories. They spilled out onto public screens. Onto walls. Into each other's minds. Cerebra City was no longer sleeping. It was awake. And it was remembering everything. The immediate fallout for the Cortex Collective was total. Their control systems failed. Their thought police units were useless. The thought spire, once a symbol of absolute power, now pulsed with a chaotic rainbow of lights. A monument to shattered control. Mira became a symbol. Not by choice, but by deed. She was no longer just a hidden artist. She was the spark that ignited the city's memory. She worked tirelessly. Not to hide. But to help. To help people understand the flood of true history. The return of their own messy, real feelings. The memory keepers, like Vega, who had lived in shadows for so long, came out of hiding. Their knowledge, once secret, was now vital. They helped guide the city through its shock. They helped people piece together the true story of Cerebra City. The one that was messy. Painful. But also filled with strength and real courage. The city began to change. The clean, calm upper levels were no longer so quiet. People talked. They argued. They shared their raw, returning feelings. Neuro-Graffiti, once Myra's secret art, became a new kind of public voice. People projected their own thoughts. Their own feelings. Their own dreams onto public spaces. A chaotic, beautiful explosion of shared consciousness. The Cortex Collective, now leaderless and broken, fell apart. Their promises of peace had been built on a lie. Their control shattered into a million pieces. Cerebra City had to learn to live with its real history. It was messy. It was hard. But it was real. People learned to think for themselves again. To feel for themselves. To choose their own path. Myra's job as a neurographitist changed too. She was no longer just about hiding the truth. She was about helping people share their true thoughts. To help them build a new, honest Cerebra City. A city that had found its own messy, real way forward. It was a city that was alive. Truly alive. What kind of new art would fill the minds of Cerebra City now that its truth was free?